One of the traps you avoid on your path to success is speaking. I know this sounds counterintuitive to the manifestation community. Oh, you have to speak it into existence, and all of those theories. We'll cover it before the end of this video. However, once you speak, you release the energy it would have taken to do the thing. Notice when you talk about your goals and your achievements, once you affiliate with this community who says, sign my non-disclosure agreement before I share my idea. And when you sign it, you feel excited, inspired to be letting on this secret. As a consequence, you share your idea as well. Talking about your goals, the next big thing with your friends and family. Oh, I'm going to do this. Naturally, you're possessed by the excitement. It blows over like wind. But you notice something remarkable. When it's time to do the thing, there is little to no energy left. As a consequence, you procrastinate, you walk around, you engage in activities in order to stall action. And I've said this previously on one of my various videos, that one of the things most people do is not to procrastinate. It's not to go, you know what, this is difficult, or I'll do it later, No, what they do is they do something very smart, because if you've been listening to me, you should be intelligent by now. They do something very smart. They say, you know what, this activity is at the bottom of the to-do list. What are the chances that the day won't run out before they get there? Exactly. And even when it seems they are close, the stupidest of tasks becomes alluring. The dish nobody ever used becomes ready. The 2 shirts in the basket is due for laundry. Groceries which you can delegate is now a burden. The cleaner's job now seems enticing. All of these are legal platforms in order for you to procrastinate. So you're giving yourself a legal way to procrastinate without feeling guilty. Once you speak, you release the energy it would have taken to do that thing. I recall one time at the infancy of my career, I would write down my goals, walk to my mediocre friends, 3, 4, 5 of them, and while I'm speaking, sharing with them the next level. My friend, you are good, you are going to be great, and I'm walking with my chin up high. God has helped us. You keep thinking like that, you would never make progress if that's your mindset. Majority of people engage in speaking for one of 2 reasons. The first, they want cheerleaders. Majority of people are not able to do it on their own. Majority of people love this idea. First, they love attention, which is me, breaking it more into components. So, the first one I gave you is they want cheerleaders. But inside that cheerleaders, you can compartmentalize. They want attention. They are individuals today. A slight headache. Every single person in the family has heard about it. The extended family. You see, that kind of life, it is very unprofitable for you to live life like that. That any single thing that happens in your life, everybody has heard about it. As trivial as it sounds, this has cost many people relationships. This has cost people billions of naira. This has cost people their life. Hello, XYZ. If it's not 5 million, if it's not 7 million, I don't want it. And their voice, you can hear their voice from upstairs. 5 million, 10 million. And while we are speaking, there's a gentleman who's taking minerals, calculating, helping you to do the math. And at the end of the day, maybe in the process of robbery, your life becomes collateral damage. Now, that individual, it was not his time to die. He might not be able to live out his assignment, all because of not an attack necessarily, not some spiritual alchemy. He was not able to shut his mouth. There are some things that happen today in our life. It's not necessarily a bias by the universe. Some things that happen are consequences, are direct consequence of your actions. Still on the instance of the guy who is always shouting, receiving phone calls. An external observer might somehow believe this is wickedness, this is the devil, he has suffered all his life, and all of a sudden, once he got his big payday, he's robbed. He robbed automatically. So from an external perspective, you might drown in self-pity. You might pray this kind of circumstance never befalls you or anybody within your circumference. However, he was the precipitator of that wrong outcome. There are ladies today who can't keep short. You get into a relationship and the guy treats you well. Hello girl, this guy, and he even promises to marry me. Really? Excuse me, sir. I'm XYZ friend. It's not as if I hate XYZ, but there are things you should really know about that lady. She said you're about to marry her. Don't you dare make that mistake ever in your life. What's the problem? He says. She goes on a 20 to 30 minutes rant of painting you in a negative light. 2 weeks later, XYZ doesn't come. 3 weeks, and the lady's texting back. All of a sudden, because of the marriage. That same lady would spend extensive hours in prayer, asking God for help. Again, she's the precipitator of that negative outcome. So there are things you keep to yourself, there are things you share. Do not run your mouth unnecessarily. Let me quickly tie this to our discourse tonight. The context of the discussion, learn how to shut your mouth. I've said it countless times that this world is cohabitated on wickedness. Wickedness is the default response of men and the world. If you go on a vacation, leave your house unattended to, what are you coming back to see? Exactly, a house filled with dust and cobwebs. Very rarely do you arrive and everywhere is sparkling clean. So for something good to happen, or that's not even the point, wickedness, degradation is the default response of the universe. When you share good news, the default response is envy. Understand my point. The default response is envy and hatred. Now, as a sovereign individual, you have to consciously recalibrate your mind, break away from that negative pattern, and learn how to share people's success. But the point I'm trying to highlight is your default response is envy. So whenever you see these traits as a pattern in your life, do not bemoan it. Do not see yourself as negative or bad. Loathe your situation. The best thing you can do in that situation is to change. You are not the subject of mental transformation. So back to the initial discourse. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. In context, cheerleading. people want cheerleaders. As a consequence, they default our initial principle, which is shutting your mouth, by revealing their goals, revealing every single thing about their goals. And the next step, and notice something like I shared, the default response, they will work in concert to sabotage your effort, knowingly or unknowingly to you. What that matters is for your destruction. Oh, bro, I need this MacBook. I'm trying as much as possible to get savings. I've tried to go to this job and I'm going to this job next tomorrow. And your friend goes to the employer, paints you in a negative light, and you keep losing and losing jobs because you've shared your plan that at that section of the season you get a MacBook and start editing your videos. Done editing, you use this platform. You've so reviewed your cards. It's easy to block you. It's common sense to block you. I forget this philosopher who said, if you don't show people your hand, they have no idea of how to defend against. If transparency was such a thing, why do the US military execute spies and assets? In fact, why do other countries send spies and assets? Exactly. Cheerleaders, you must be able to be comfortable in your own skin. You must be able to write down your goals and keep it to yourself. Am I recommending you never ask for help? No, that's beyond the scope of this discussion. That's not what I'm advocating for at all. However, when you ask for help, you ask in a precise manner, not revealing the entire plan unless you have to, but you ask for help in specific areas, especially to individuals who can render. It is very painful for you to tell a man your life story, and after listening, sorry, I can't help you. It is a very painful situation, but he has received the information. There are people today who run helter-skelter, running their mouth, all in the name of seeking for help. Yeah, my husband, he has this problem, and they've told 10, 15 people before they finally find someone who can solve the problem. But those 15 people have heard the information. Perhaps they are gossipers. You see, this life of don't tell anybody, it's stupid. If you truly trust the person you share the information with, you wouldn't need to have his assurance for secrecy. The fact that you have to remind him to shut up his mouth is evidence enough. You just shared your secrets with the gossiper. As the Bible famously puts it, a secret is in the similitude of an arrow stuck to the foot of a fool. That's exactly what it is. Again, you can use this to your advantage, and I don't want to teach you people's strategy and have the audience call me a Machiavellian, but you can use gossipers to your advantage. For instance, if there's a news you want to spread without making it seem obvious, because part of strategy is you must make it appear natural. This was one of the secrets. Sell your vehicle some Chinese tea master. I believe I got his name right, but maybe not the pronunciation. But this was something that he excelled in recreating nature. One time, he attended a tea party of a guest. While they served rice, the guest went out to cut line. How spontaneous he said. But once he looked at the table, that there were rice cakes to go with the line, he saw that every single thing was premeditated, making the gesture appear tasteless. He excused himself. According to Chinese history, when the emperor was about to visit the renowned tea master, all of a sudden it started snowing. As spontaneous as he was, he put round cushion from the gates leading to his doorstep. Once it stopped snowing, he carefully took out those round cushions, leaving the perfect circle of green grass. Imagine that kind of beautiful sight. As the emperor walked in, very impressed. So he was a man renowned for his spontaneity and able to create nature. So we as humans, not we as humans, you humans gravitate to things that are natural. That's why machines that makes a lot of noise and you can see the crankiness is not something that is celebrated. We like nature, we like things that appear with ease. In fact, the debate between Messi and Ronaldo, and why people call Messi pure talent and why people hate Ronaldo, is this idea of his work ethic. Majority of people have settled it as a consciousness. They are never ever going to go get to the echelon of discipline and work ethic as this man. The byproduct, as I've shared, is hate and envy. They would rather settle with a more natural Leo Messi than a hard-working Ronaldo. But I guarantee you do not get to the echelon as Lionel without putting in effort. One decided to make his efforts seem effortless. The other decided to elicit sympathy from the public by working as hard as possible. That's why the subject will forever remain a debate. Had Ronaldo kept his work ethic discreet, perhaps he would have surpassed Lionel. Who knows? So always make your efforts seem effortless. I don't want to go into that subject. I'm already going ahead of myself. This is beyond what I wanted to teach. So cheerleading. People like cheerleading. The second, they are uncomfortable with themselves, or they feel the need to over-explain. Anybody who has chased success at a high enough level, or you desired success at a point in your life, you notice this pattern. You get to a point where your schedule requires isolation. Your schedule requires isolation. Also, coupled with the fact that the consecration demands it takes to materialize that outcome from an external perspective is time wasting. Take journalism for instance. You have to spend hours of your time consuming content, reading books, writing things. From an external perspective, your friend, go get a job, you're wasting your life, and you try and laugh and bully you into giving up. Remember what I said about this one being found upon negativity. They try and bully you into giving up. Individuals, in response, feel the need to explain themselves. This is what I'm doing. This is why I need to do this. In a bit to gain acceptance, you default on the first law. The first law of the first law. Remember, I stratified the first law from cheerleading into attention seeking. And we also talked about over revealing. So, in an attempt to gain acceptance and for your friends to not see you as a fool, you overshare. Unfortunately, in order to be wise in God, you have to be foolish in the natural. Any successful person, if you listen perfectly, there were times in his life he undertook certain classes, certain lessons, certain experiences. It only made sense in hindsight. It's like Steve Jobs dropping out of his luxurious school in order to take calligraphy class. That calligraphy classes would become the font of the iPhone, and Microsoft copied iPhone. Who knows how the font of today's day and age would be had he not made that sacrifice. From an external perspective, it's very easy to judge. You lost thousands of dollars in school, you should have stayed at home. And mind you, he dropped out of school to sleep on floors of dormitories. He dropped out of school, slept on the floor of the hostel of his friends, sometimes slept behind a tree. It's Steve Jobs. He walked barefoot. I don't know what's wrong with that guy. But he did it. Ultimately, he pulled it off. Do not feel the need to over-explain to people. Do not feel the need to try and justify your actions in order to gain some form of acceptance. There's something I want every single one of you to understand. That one of the traps not to fall is to speak alone without action. And even action is stratified into various categories. For instance, if you find yourself in the loop of manifestation videos, consuming content, you finish the day with a wrong narrative, you worked hard. All you did was listen to various podcasts, you took notes. Just because all of those are in your schedule doesn't necessarily mean they're action. Action is action. All you're doing is learning how to take action perfectly. When the axe head is blunt, prepare to dissipate energy. So all those podcasts, all those information, the books you read, they're not necessarily action. All he helps to do, what he achieves in your life, is to sharpen the axe head, to make you more effective in action taking. For instance, 20-30 minutes ago, before the creation of this content, usually I don't script my content. So I tried this life of trying to research, but it was so boring and I felt like I'm wasting my time because I have other things to do. I prefer to have a point, have an outcome, turn on the camera, start speaking. That's how I do it. So one of the things I want you to do is to not try and be like other people. Accept your peculiarities, accept your idiosyncrasies. If you try what I'm doing, you might end up with stuttering all the place. So accept your uniqueness. Accept your uniqueness. Do not try and dim your light in order to make people feel comfortable, or try and reduce your intellect. Yeah, there are times I reduce my intellect. For instance, I would refrain from using certain vocabularies. I discern my room and I act accordingly. Doesn't mean I conform. I prioritize connection over ego. There are words I could have said leaving people confounded is something I do. That would feed my ego, reinforce my intellect psychologically. Or simply put it, leaving people puzzled is something I enjoy doing. The same words, but different reaction. So it's not every time you be a smarty ass. There are times where it is totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. So prioritize action, not things that helps you take better action. They are equally as effective. When it becomes burdensome, it's when you tilt to one direction over the other. It is equally as effective to learn how to take action better and to take action accordingly than to keep taking action and learning brutally by experience. Life is a very brutal teacher. It will recycle itself and teach you as many times as you need to learn. So working hard is not justifiable. If hard work pays, then the richest will be the bricklayers and the concrete men. Why is this not the case? Why is it that intellectuals are the ones with the most wealth? Because they combine hard work with smart work. That combination must become your testimony today. Combine learning how to take action with taking action itself. You're a businessman. Don't just read books all day. Put into practice what you've learned. I don't have capital, but you can start by drafting the plan, applying the various philosophies on this new business plan. See how effective your intellect is. I'm a speaker. I'm waiting for someone to invite me. I've spoken in my local group. I have affiliated myself with some kind of community where we take turns. I feel like I'm a speaker. The best thing you can do in that case is to start creating content in order for you to be consistent. Plus, it affords you a platform to evaluate your progress. If you get monetized in the process, if not, that was not the goal. Studies show once you're detached from something, that thing starts to chase you. If monetization was never the goal, it's most likely you will be monetized. Like the story of a man who tried to catch his shadow. He took one step forward, the shadow 2 steps forward, in that progressive manner until it was 5 to 10. What did our eccentric friend do? He turned his back, noticing something very interesting. The shadow began to follow suit. For as long as he pursued that shadow, it eluded him. Once he turned his back, I don't care about you. He began to pursue. The same thing with women, the same thing with the business, You don't like the girl, she likes you. That's how it works. So if there's anything you've learned amongst all the interesting philosophies shared today, is focus on taking action as well as learning how to take action. If you stuck in one dimension, you would never achieve success. If you tilt more towards any of these dimensions, you would never achieve success. Working hard brutally will only leave you working for someone who knows how to use people, who knows the value of learning how to work. What's a CEO job? What's the job of a CEO? Exactly to align a group of people to a set vision while he works on something completely different. The CEO has given various roles to the peasants and the plebs while he sits in his office all day. Check and balance, advertising, leisure here and there, working as hard as possible. Notice something, the job of the CEO is very different from the job of his subordinates. His subordinates are working hard. He is working hard. In the days of old, the kings or the heir would be educated in philosophy and various kinds of education, from horseback riding to chess, Latin, various languages. Alexander the Great, his tutor was Galileo or Plato, I can't recall. All of these two philosophers. So that backs up my claim. The king's job, the peasants, the king, the peasants, the king, peasants, the king, the peasants, the king, the peasants, the king, the peasants, the king, the peasants. As always, my friend, it's a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you in the next one.